Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Hello. It's been a couple of weeks. So glad you're all joining here. You're all here with us a few days before Christmas. Merry Christmas to everyone. Merry Christmas, you guys.
Merry Christmas, James.
Yeah. Thank you. So we've got, oh my gosh, so much good news. So much good news. Erica is beaming right now, and I'm sure you can see why. She has some news that she would love to share, I'm sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm putting you on the stage. I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, yeah, people don't know much about me, I guess, but we've got a 21-year-old, a 19-year-old, and 15-year-old sons. And then we just found out at the beginning of November that we're having another one. So I'm so big and pregnant right now that I have to start telling people that, or everyone's going to think I have liver issues or something and have gross ascites or something.
Oh, that's so
yeah,
that's so awesome.
I'll be 45.
Wow.
So yeah, and we were definitely not trying to have a baby. But yeah, I was looking up the odds. It's like a 5% odd that you can naturally have a pregnancy at my age.
Wow.
So yeah, and I'm doing everything completely differently from the first 3. I had 3 C-sections and Western medicine, everything, and now I'm into total natural medicine, and I'm having the baby in the woods. I'm not I'm not doing prenatals because those make me feel sick. So I'm doing a combination of whole foods and minerals and all the stuff I know about nutrition now, and I haven't been sick at all. Yeah, that's kind of how I felt, Richard. And that's what's so funny because Brad just shared this with me a week ago that he said that right before the conception happened, he received what he called a download that he was supposed to bring forth a child. So I know, so he knew I was pregnant before I knew I was pregnant.
Before you did.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yes. He looked straight at me and he goes, "It's because you're pregnant." And I was like, "What? No, God, that's crazy."
That's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's crazy.
This soul wants to be here for sure.
For sure. Oh, that's crazy times. I mean, it's good times. And I just realized I totally skipped over our whole introduction. Again, this is how professional of a production we put on.
Right.
It's last minute, and it's just hey, we're just gonna roll with it, and then whatever happens, happens. But
you mean we're like life?
Yeah. It's I've always said this, guys, right? Haven't I? It's my mother-in-law always says life is what happens when you make plans. So I'm not making plans. I'm just rolling with it.
Yep.
But anyway, such great news. Congratulations, Erica. We're so happy for you.
We're very happy for you.
Yeah, I'm not registering this baby with the corporation. All the things that I know now, all the things.
There's so many good things. There's so many good things that we're going to talk about along those lines. I mean, it's everything for the last 3-4 years has just been so eye-opening. And as we move on and move further into our lives, more and more things become reality. And it's just crazy how we've all been dumbed down. I mean, that's just really the best way to put it. But anyway, thank you everybody for joining us this morning. I am your host, James the Patriot. Obviously, we've heard from my beautiful co-host, Erica, as well as Justice. Say hello, Justice.
Good morning, everyone. Merry Christmas to you all.
Merry Christmas. Thank you. Justice will be jumping off here soon. She has got a prearranged event with your daughter, right? Yes. And I wouldn't, I'm jealous. I really wish I could go horseback riding with them right now. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Bring the twins up and join in.
Yes. So I actually have, Eric, I don't know if you were on when I said this, but today is my youngest. My twins are my youngest. Today is their 8-year-old birthday. They just turned 8. I cannot freaking believe it.
Twins. What are their names? No, you don't have to say it.
Max and Hudson. Yep, Max and Hudson.
Happy birthday.
I cannot believe that they're freaking 8 years old. So it's really sad how fast time flies. But because of that, so since Justice is going to be taken off, and in spirit of the sacred birthday that we celebrate on Monday, even though he wasn't born in December, we're just going to celebrate it.
Well, I don't think God holds us accountable for us being duped. So
I don't think so either. You know, as long as we're celebrating, right? Because we celebrate both events. We celebrate the birth and the death and the resurrection. So I think we're good.
Yeah.
But the Savior's birth is what the event that we celebrate on Christmas. So in light of that, I have asked Justice if she would offer us a word of prayer before we kick off the show.
All righty. All right, folks. I just want to say to the Father, thank you so much for your Son, for coming to try to heal our world and to guide us. We recognize his birth regardless of all the commercialism and the craziness that has been usurped into this holiday. And we want to offer our love back and ask you for your guidance. Keep us focused, keep us directed, and keep us in the spirit of what Christmas is all about, to look at one another with loving eyes and with loving hearts, to remove the judgment and the commercialism, and keep us in a joyful spirit. I wish everybody out there a happy, wonderful, and joyous Christmas, and God bless everyone. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So let's jump into a few things here. Real quick before I jump into what I've got going on. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
I'm going to
Let's
jump
see.
off.
Yeah, we've got. Oh, yes. Thanks,
Okay.
Justice. Have so much fun.
Okay. Blessings, everybody.
We will talk to you next week or whenever.
Merry Christmas, folks.
Merry Christmas. See you.
Bye.
Yes, everybody. Thank you for being here. Harrington, Richard. Let's see, Kevin. Thank you guys. T-Post. Always, as always, C to AZ, you're always here. Thank you so much. Diesel for We the People. Thank you guys for joining us. 3 days, 4 days, 3 days. 3 days before Christmas. Yes. So thank you for joining us on this episode. But before I jump into some updates on what's new on my cases and the things I'm working on, Erica, what's new with you as far besides the whole pregnancy thing, which is a pretty big deal?
Yeah, besides that whole thing, I had a pretty great win too, where justice prevailed. We had a contractor that had been working with us on this property that was not in honor, and he committed a breach of contract. And of course, I know the elements of the breach of contract because I've done Dr. Graves' course.
Good.
And I was able to follow a procedure, a series of notices. And the contractor was very resistant at first and was starting to up the charge of the original contract that was in breach. And so then it became, I appealed to his sense of honor. In the letters, I was like, we intend to be people of honor, and we are hoping that you will also live in honor. And as of this moment, there is dishonor. And so, but I also used the law as well and talked about the elements of the contract and was able to send a series of certified mailings that were successful. And he ended up doing the right thing. And I ended up presenting him with an offer that I felt was fair. And then he also did the same, and it was resolved. So,
oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that is fantastic.
We avoided the whole process of having to go into court. Like, if it's at all up to you to live in peace with others, you were supposed to do that. And so, rather than get to the point where we're going into these courtrooms, as much as we can resolve beforehand, is really the most ideal situation, because we're expecting. What we've learned about our justice system is that it's filled with criminals too. And so when we expect justice to be delivered by criminals, we can be disappointed a lot. So if we can take it upon ourselves as men and women to resolve things beforehand, that really is the best bet.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, and that's the truth. So, I mean, you guys, this is what I have been teaching from the beginning. And this is what Erica has been preaching since she's been on the show as a co-host. We're all adults here. We're all big kids. Can't we just get along? And I love the fact that you did what you did is like, hey, you didn't just run right out and sue the guy. Right?
Well, no way. Yeah. Right.
I mean, you could have, if you had wanted to, you could have run down to your local courthouse and filed a lawsuit against the guy. You absolutely could have, because you had all of everything you needed. You had a breach of contract. You knew all those elements. But instead of doing that, cooler heads prevailed. And you said, you know what? Hey, listen, dude, we had a contract and you're not choosing to abide by the terms of that contract. I could do this if I wanted to, but I don't. I want to work this out. And that's fantastic. I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Harrington brings it up best. Jesus did not like lawyers. I agree. I agree, Harrington. What did he say? He said, "Woe unto you lawyers, for you have perverted the truth from the people," right? And that's the sad reality that this world that we live in, and we have all been brainwashed ever since we were little kids, right, Erica? When we were in school, when we were little kids, we've all been brainwashed. If you've got a legal problem, you go get a lawyer. It's what you do. Lawyers will help you. You pay them all sorts of money and they'll help you. And what's reality, and I had somebody tell me this, it's a guy that I worked with. I never really liked him much, but this is one piece of advice that I did like. And he said, anytime lawyers get involved, the only people who win are the lawyers.
Yeah.
And that's the truth, because they're taking your money regardless. Doesn't matter if you win your case or not. They're taking your money. So that's a great point there. Very good update. Thank you so much. So let me fill you all in on a few things that I have done. Let's see if I can pull up. Oh, I think I may have tossed it into my garbage can. So let me open it up off the file on my desk. So I just yesterday or the day before. Yeah, the day before, I filed another document with the court. Let me open this one here. Okay. So as many of you know, I have filed a motion for leave to amend. Let's see here. I want to pull this up so I can go through it with you guys. Window. Here we go. All right. So for those of you who are watching, it's up on the screen. For those of you who are listening, I will read through this. So there is every district, federal district court across the country has a local set of district rules. So you guys have heard me talk about, and Dr. Graves talks about how the rules rule.
The rules rule.
The rules rule, right, Erica? The rules
That's right.
rule. So where do we find these? Well, we know that if we're in a civil litigation, there's rules for civil procedure. We know about that. Well, in addition to that, there's rules at the appellate court level, and there's rules at the Supreme Court level. But there's also rules at each district court level. So you're going to find wherever you are. So I'm here in Utah. So luckily for me, I've only got one district court. So some states have 2 or 3 or 4. California, I think, has 5. I don't know. But I only have one district court, and they publish every year an updated set of their local court rules. Well, there's a local rule here that I can submit in writing to the court, a request for a decision. So the sad reality is, when you're in federal litigation, anytime you're filing a motion to the court, those motions will often sit 4 to 8 months before a decision is rendered. Hey, Erica, let me ask you, is that justice?
Justice delayed is no justice.
Justice delayed is justice denied, right?
Right.
So, I mean, if it's a complex issue, like, what I'm dealing with here, in my case, it's getting these government bureaucrats off my back and quit trying to charge me fees in the form of taxes that I don't owe because I'm immune from them as a private citizen. So in an issue like that, I understand it can take a little while to issue a ruling. I get that. That's part of it. But where I'm under some undue duress, and let me explain the situation. Now, how many of you that are still subject, unfortunately, to being hounded by your local county people have received in the mail something from your mortgage company, your bank that you're paying your mortgage to, that says, hey, property taxes are going up so much, so we have to raise your monthly payment amount. We've all seen that before, right, Erica?
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying now, but I'm saying in the past, and I don't remember your situation currently, but I like where I'm at. I'm
opting out of paying property taxes.
Yes. As am I. I'm trying to get them off my back. I'm in the purchase of buying a new home. When I buy this new home, any documentation that they send over to me, I'm going to make sure I cross anything out that has anything to do with property taxes. It's like, no, I have no business being on their tax rolls. Take this off. But anyway, so where I'm at currently is I have filed a motion for leave to amend. I've taken my complaint that was really strong. I took their arguments. I made it even stronger. They have no leg to stand on, but they're just asking this court to deny it. Now, if any of you have been following along with Alphonse's case, he filed a property tax suit. The judge in his case dismissed his case because the judge in there says the court doesn't have subject matter jurisdiction. Again, abuse of discretion. Okay. Courts can only make decisions based on the law and the facts before them. The law and the facts. And facts must be supported by admissible evidence. Those are the three things. Okay. In Alphonse's case, the defendants have presented no evidence whatsoever that he is a taxpayer because that requires evidence. And there's ample Supreme Court decisions. There's ample state Supreme Court decisions that back this up. Even here in my state, I have a rock solid state Supreme Court decision that says in order for a county to tax someone, there has to be a substantial or tangible nexus. Now, we've talked about this before, right, Eric? What's tangible mean?
You can touch it, see it, taste it, feel it. Yeah.
Something I can hold, right?
Right.
Okay. Something I can touch and feel. So is the ground outside tangible as far as that goes? Can I avoid touching the ground?
Probably not. I mean,
if I'm in an airplane,
right. Still,
if I jump in a helicopter, I can avoid touching the ground, right?
Right.
So that's not a tangible nexus. That's just the earth was here long before any of us were. So you can't claim right to that because you don't. The county does not own this property. They don't. I do. I purchased it. I own it. So that's not a tangible nexus. There's got to be some type of a business license, a contract, a tax return, something like that. So in Alphonse's case, the judge, he's just like, I just trying to get this to go away. He's like, I can't, this is too hot of a potato for me. I want this to just go. Well, Alphonse has filed a motion for reconsideration and pointed out all of his errors. What's going to happen from here is if the judge is smart, he'll reverse his decision. He's not. If he's not smart, which he's not, he's going to go ahead and deny the motion for reconsideration. Now, Alphonse has multiple appealable issues. So he's going to take that to his appellate court. The appellate court's going to do one of two things. They're going to reverse the decision and remand, or they're going to uphold it. The absolute worst thing they could do is uphold it because now Alphonse has a serious federal question that he could take to the Supreme Court, and he has stated he's willing to do so. I am willing to do so as well. Okay? So I'm not quite as far along. I haven't had a ruling from the judge yet, but I'm fully expecting him to deny me my redress of grievances. I'm fully expecting that. I'm not expecting this. Guys, I'll tell you right now, I'll be shocked if this judge grants my motion and allows my case to move along. I'll be shocked. I really will. So what I do here is when I go into these courts, I go in here expecting the worst, hoping for the best. So that way I'm not disappointed when what I know is going to happen is going to happen. Because again, these judges, the idea behind a federal judge was that they can be, they're appointed for life on a court bench by the president. And the idea behind this was that they were to be completely separated from the rest of society so that they weren't to be beholden to anyone. Well, somehow someone, i.e. an association, i.e. the Bar Association, and I'm speculating here. I have no evidence on this, so don't hold me accountable. And Bar Association, if you're listening, maybe you can learn something. But if you're listening, I have no evidence. I'm just speculating. At this point, it's hearsay. But I feel like they've gotten their tentacles into these judges somehow, because their rulings have no basis in foundation or law whatsoever. So what I've done is, going back to the document I have on the screen, is there is a local rule where I can submit in writing a request to the judge to issue a ruling, which is what I've done. So it's pretty simple. It's only a 2-page document. I just state to the Honorable Court, this is my request to submit for decision. According to the local rule, which is right here, the DU Civ R7-3, plaintiff respectfully files this second request. Now, I've already filed one. This is my second. I gave him 2 weeks. It was actually 2.5, almost 3 weeks. Gave him 3 weeks. This is now my second request. What's that old saying, Erica? The squeaky wheel gets what?
The grease, baby.
The grease. Okay. I'm not in here to irritate or tick off to make the judge mad with me, but I put in here time is of the essence. I don't know if you can see this, Erica, if you want to read that for everybody.
The plaintiff is under undue stress, that one?
Yep, that's the one.
Okay, plaintiff is under undue stress due to the threat and promise of increased payments reflected in payments monthly mortgage payment, whereby defendants have convinced plaintiff's mortgager to withhold monies from plaintiff's payment to send to the defendants to satisfy these demands. Plaintiff intends to file a subsequent motion for TRO and preliminary injunction once this court grants the now pending motion for leave to amend before it.
Perfect. So what have I just said there? Basically, I'm like, hey, judge, I don't want to inundate you with a bunch of motions, but I will. And so I had thought a while ago, hey, maybe I should go ahead and file a motion for injunction, but I didn't really have what I thought was a strong enough case, because I had been paying my monthly mortgage amount for the last, 7, 8, 9 months or whatever it was before I started this process. But now I do. They want to increase my monthly mortgage payment by $250 a month.
So I had my mortgage agreement amended to take out the property taxes.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a temporary, so a TRO is a temporary restraining order. Once I get that order granted, I'm going to take that to amend my mortgage agreement and have them take all the property taxes crap out. So, but I need something from the court first, which is why I'm doing this. So, if that makes sense. So, so here's where we go from here. And I apologize. It's wintertime, is getting cold. Of course, a little crap gets in the back of your throat, but don't you worry. I'm on all sorts of herbal remedies to take care of it. Because Erica's got my back. So
I won't even tell you about my favorite herbal remedy.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
no, you're good. Go ahead. You're good. Go ahead.
That sounded nefarious.
No, that's not what I meant.
I know.
Not that herbal remedy, guys.
Oh, yeah.
But on another note, Erica does make some fantastic brownies. But boy, I tell you what, your head will be spinning after you eat one of those things. Oh, goodness. But to finish up this document, this is what the court or what the rule states. Just list out all the papers on file. I've asked the court for a hearing. They're not going to grant it to me, but I asked it. So here, that's where I'm at. So I filed this with the court. It was filed, let's see, what's today? Friday. It was filed on Wednesday. So it's been on the court with Wednesday. Nothing's going to happen between now and the end of the year. It's the holidays. It's just not going to happen. But I plan on filing my third request either the first or second week of January if I haven't gotten a ruling back. So that's where that sits. So excuse me for 1 second. Sorry. Okay, so Alexis, hey, nice to see you. Did Erica stop paying the property taxes from, I'm assuming from the mortgage, because I don't know who he mortgages, from the mortgage without a court order? Yeah, how did you explain that process?
Yeah, I did. I wrote a letter to our bank and just said, hey, I'd like to pay property taxes independent of the mortgage. Can we amend that in the agreement, please? And they were like, sure. Yeah. It reduced my payment by like $400 or something like that.
Isn't that disgusting? That's where my payment would be too. It would reduce mine by about $500 or $600 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is possible. I mean, so what happens is they set up what's called an escrow account, and it's done for ease of use for people. But again, these counties have even convinced these mortgage companies that if you don't pay your property taxes, that they can come and steal your house. Well, if the mortgage company has your house as collateral for the loan, do you think they're going to allow that to happen? No. So if you just quit paying your property taxes, then what typically will happen is the mortgage company will step in and pay it, and then they'll charge you back for it. So you have to get a court order somewhere, somehow. So what Erica did is what's the temporary solution, I guess you could say, because it depends on what state you're in. Here in Utah, where I live, they can't foreclose on a property tax issue until you have not paid for 4 years. So most states are the same, but I don't know. I'm not sure what God's slice of heaven in Indiana is. But yes, that's how that works. So
it's
all right.
It's salty.
So what's that?
It's salty here in Indiana. Yeah.
Yep. Have you gotten any snow, or are you still?
No, not yet.
Yeah, we haven't. I mean, the mountains have snow, but I don't have any. Justice has like 3 or 4 feet because she lives at like 10,000 feet above sea level.
No, it's going to be 57 degrees this weekend.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm actually, I'm really excited because we got and I got to be careful because my boys are downstairs. I haven't given it this present to them yet, but my wife was trying to get them a specific gift, and it wasn't going to be here in time, and she was freaking out. So she gets on Facebook Marketplace. By the way, gosh dang it, you Facebook Marketplace. For giving my wife ideas. So she gets on Facebook Marketplace and she pulls up like this little go-kart thing. And she's like, oh my gosh, look at this. It's a 2-seater go-kart. I'm like, Maggie, my wife's name is Maggie. I was like, Maggie, you gotta be kidding me. So of course we go to look at it. I am a sucker for stuff like this. Dirt bikes, go-karts. So as soon as I look at it, like, oh, we got to get that. So I'm excited because we can actually give it to them and drive it around.
Gosh, they're gonna freak out. That's a gift you remember.
Yes, we are excited about that. So, but let's get on to what I wanted to talk about today. With the title of the show, the rules a pro se must follow to win. Erica, have you heard anything about rules a pro se must follow to win? Like anything structured, I should say, from anybody?
Well, a little bit. I've been looking into all the different ways that you can present yourself in court, pro se being just one of them. And I actually, did you ever see that video with, there was a Black woman and she had a white jacket on and shoulder pads, and she was talking about the Moorish Empire and how she deals with everything, but she was educating on the law and how when you go pro se, then it opens you up. She's like, this is not the way that you want to go. You want to go in propria persona. Mm-hmm. But she was explaining why and how pro se and pro se cutor, like the Latin of everything. And it was really, really good. So I was studying that and just like sui juris, and, there's all these different ways to do it. But yeah, it's still really convoluted for those of us who are still like entering into this whole realm. It becomes really overwhelming because it's like, well, wait a second, who am I? What do I do? Like, what am I supposed to, okay, I don't even know how to initiate my paperwork. Who am I?
So let's talk about that for a second, because I don't want there to be any confusion. It doesn't matter what you call yourself. Doesn't matter if you go, I'm here in propria persona, I'm here as pro se, I'm here in sui juris or sui generis. It doesn't matter what you call yourself. Okay. If you're there as yourself, you are presenting yourself before the court. Period. Doesn't matter if you say, I'm here pro se, I'm here. That doesn't matter. It means nothing. And it doesn't grant any specific jurisdictional powers to the court. It doesn't mean that you're waiving any of your constitutionally secured rights. None of that. That doesn't mean any of that stuff. And that there's been a lot of confusion on that. There's been a lot of people said, oh, if you go in there and you say pro se, you've now consent to their jurisdiction. No, that's not how it works. The reason why we have been duped for as long as we have is these people have figured out a way. And when I say these people, there's nobody that I can specifically point a finger at because this has been going on since the late 1800s. Here's a crazy thing, just to throw this out there. I was listening to a gentleman, and I'll tell you who that was here in a second. I was listening to a gentleman who said that they have not had a lawful conviction in his state, which is the state of Idaho, since 1891. Every conviction after that has been an unlawful conviction. And I dare to say it's the same in darn near every flipping state. So this is why I want to get it out there, is it does not matter what you call yourself. Because remember, what matters in a court, right? There's three things that a court must have. Jurisdiction's one of them. That's the overall foundation. But what were the three things I just talked about in order for the court to rule in your favor? What do they have to have? The law has to be on your side.
Oh, the facts and the evidence.
And the evidence.
And rules have to be admissible. Yeah. Exactly.
Admissible evidence. Correct. So again, if I come in there and I call myself Johnny Go Lightly, I'm James Tracy and I'm presenting myself as Johnny Go Lightly. Okay, whatever. I don't care. But if I have the facts, the law, and the rules on my, and the evidence on my side, admissible evidence, doesn't matter. The record shows that according to the record, this is what should happen. I mean, it's no different than if you guys were to watch a sporting event between two teams. I was watching a football game last night. It was a kind of an entertaining game for a little bit. At the end of the game, you got one team has a score here, the other team has a lower score. Does it take a genius to figure out which team won the game?
No.
No, because the higher score wins. The same is true in sports. Right. What's that?
Unless it's golf.
Lower score wins.
Right.
So this is this is the same idea. It doesn't matter that somebody has never watched the game before. They can come to the same conclusion because, these guys scored this and these guys didn't. So these guys win. That's how it's supposed to be in the courts. So this is where I want you guys to understand is it doesn't matter what you call yourself. So the last couple of weeks, I have been listening to a gentleman who unfortunately is no longer with us. He passed away. I'm not sure how long ago. I want to say it's like 2010 or 11, maybe a little after that. But his name is George Gordon. Have you ever heard of him, Erica?
No.
George Gordon. So when we get done with our show, I want you guys to go onto YouTube and search George Gordon. You're going to find there's a channel called Freedom Unchained, and he has all of George Gordon's lectures and webinars and stuff. And this guy guys, this is how old this is. This guy was teaching people this stuff back in 1984 and 85. I was 3. This guy was teaching people, and our government was doing to what they're doing to us now then.
Right.
And he was teaching people. So it is eye-opening. It's fascinating. You guys, you got to go listen to it. But what I wanted to talk about today is he talks about in some of his lesson series, he talks about the rules that a pro se litigant must follow if they expect to win. And there's 19 specific rules. We're not going to have time to go over all 19 today, so I'm going to break the show up in a couple of parts. I want to touch on a few pieces. So he says that the number one issue or the number one problem that pro ses get themselves into, the number one trouble is one specific thing. Would you care to take a guess what that might be, Erica? What's the number one way pro se litigants get themselves into trouble?
I don't know, waiving some right?
Close to it. Close to it. Let me tell you that, or let me give you this little statistic, and then maybe you can guess from there.
Okay.
So he says, and this is actually still true today, 90+% of the convictions that come in court come from confessions. So what's the number one problem that pro se's get themselves into? What do?
I talk too much.
They don't shut up. It's so true.
Loquaciousness, I think, is the word.
Exactly. And let's go through an example, or let's go through a real life example here. You're driving down the road, minding your own business. Okay. All of a sudden, some lights flip on behind you. You're like, oh, lovely. So you pull off to the side of the road. A policy officer, because that's technically how you pronounce the word POLICE. A policy officer walks up and he says, going a little fast there, ma'am. What's going to be your response to that question, Erica?
I don't interact with the police when they're out on duty.
So
I won't answer any of their questions because they trick you into entering into a contractual nexus right there on the side of the road. But I don't have a driver's license either, so
okay.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things, and this is why listening to George's lectures are eye-opening, because he talks about the whole driver's license thing too. We all know it's not required. The Supreme Court has said you have an unalienable right to travel. You can use an automobile to do that. The roads are there for the public use. You can do that. So the state has come under their police powers and said, well, we're going to regulate everything here, and we're going to issue a license and a fee for it. Okay. Murdoch v. Pennsylvania. You ever heard of that case, Erica?
Maybe.
Murdoch v. Pennsylvania was actually a civil rights case. It was issued during the civil rights movement back in the 60s, where this group wanted to go out and proselyte, and the city said, no, you have to have a license to be able to do that. They took it all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said a state cannot convert a right into a privilege and charge a license or a fee for it. That applies against any right we have. Your right to travel, your right to own property, just you pick it, you name it. Okay. So when this officer comes up to the window and you roll down your window, so I'm the officer going a little fast there, were we, ma'am? What's going to be your response to me, Erica?
I would have to, I don't know.
Let's talk about what our response.
I would say, can anything I say be held against me?
There you go. There you go. Okay. We're going to use, okay, you guys have to remember that these policy officers, they're not trained in the law.
No.
The supreme law of the land. They're not trained in that. They're trained in policies and procedures. They're trained in statutory law. They're trained to enforce statutory law. And they believe that every citizen on the road is subject to all of the statutes that come out of Congress.
Right.
Here's the thing. Not every single statute is 100% unconstitutional. It might be constitutional when it's applied correctly. So if it's applied to someone who applied for a license because they're operating a business on the highways, then they can absolutely enforce that law. That's not unconstitutional. When it becomes unconstitutional is when they try to apply those statutes to the private citizens, the sovereign men and women of this country, who gave them their ultimate power to protect their rights. Does that make sense to anybody? How is it that the creation has now become more powerful than the creators? I mean,
because we've allowed them to violate our rights without knowing that they are.
You know, and George Gordon puts it best. He says, we have become good little slaves that have just acquiesced to everything because we want to go along to get along. Right? So here's rule number one. And if you guys are writing this down, you know, I didn't have time to put together a slide presentation, but I'm going to for our next episode. So I'll review these again and we'll have this and I'll put it up on our Telegram channel. Rule number one, do not say anything. Shut up. Keep your mouth shut. Because if you don't say anything, you've got a 90% chance of winning right there. Because 90% of all the convictions come from confessions or things that you have said. So going back to our little role-playing situation here. Cop comes up to the window. If I'm driving the car, cop comes up to the window, says, going a little fast there, were we? My first answer is going to be, if you say so. So now what's he going to ask me for? License and registration, right? License and registration? Because what is this cop assuming? What assumption has he made?
That you're under his jurisdiction because you've entered into the terms and contracts with the state of corporation.
Okay. So let's touch on that. Is a driver's license a contract? Because we've had a lot of questions on, is it a contract? Is it not a contract? What is it? Is it a contract? Yes and no. Yes, if you are operating in a commercial capacity. If you're driving a commercial vehicle, if you're driving like a big semi truck, a bus, you're charging people to haul people. If you're an Uber driver, if you're something like that, you're operating in commerce. The driver's license is a valid form of police power at that point. But what about the private citizen? What about you and me, Erica? Is it a contract as far as that goes?
They assume it is, and that's the problem, because you're dealing with people who don't know. We are in a war zone, so we have to respond appropriately. They think that you are. So you don't want to do any roadside education, really. You just want to keep your mouth shut, and like they wouldn't give me a ticket anyway, because I am obviously not under their jurisdiction. I have an international driver's permit, and my vehicle is registered to my LLC. So they don't have any in a different state. So they don't have any local jurisdiction over me anyway. So
yep. So there's a few things, right? What's the definition of assume? Harrington says it best. Do you want to read that for those who are listening?
Making an ass out of you and me.
That's right. That's the definition of assume. Yeah. So this officer is assuming that you're operating under some type of a commercial contract. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Just because you may have applied for and gotten a driver's license, that license itself is not a contract. It's a quasi contract, which means it has some of the elements of a contract, but it does not fulfill all of the elements. So even if you can still carry a driver's license, even if you give your driver's license to the guy, you can still go into court and beat it. Now you have to determine. Now, George Gordon, this guy was, if you look up some of his cases, he was fantastic. He stood on all of his rights, all of the time. I love it. So what he does when the cop comes up to his window and he says, going a little fast there, were we? He says, well, if you say so. And then the guy says, driver's license and registration, please. What do you think is his response, Erica?
Is that an order?
He says, who wants to know? Right? By what authority? Who wants to know? And then the guy says, well, I'm officer so-and-so, and I have a legal or lawful duty to whatever they want to say to require this information of you. Now, his next question is going to be, Mr. Officer, what will happen to me if I don't give you that? What will happen to me if I don't have that? Well, I'm going to arrest you and I'm going to take you to jail. Okay. So if I'm understanding you correctly, if I don't give you a driver's license and a registration of my car, you're going to arrest me, deprive me of my life and my liberty without any proper due process of law. Is that correct? You see what we just did there? We're backing this cop into a corner, getting admissions on the spot. George calls this the scene of the crime. You win your case at the scene of the crime and you set these people up. You have to have a stomach for this. He did. He didn't care. He's like, if you're going to arrest me, you're going to arrest me. I'm going to sue your ass. He didn't care. But some people do. Some people are not in that situation. Some people are not savvy enough to say, if you're going to arrest me, go ahead and arrest me. But what he would do is, my gosh, it sounds like they're starting the party festivities early. I'm sorry about that. But what he would do is he would say those questions there, and he'd say, oh, okay, well, I don't have time for that, so here you go. He'd give him that, and the cop would walk back, and he'd come back to his window, and he says, hey, can I ask you something? Is this a custodial? Is this a custodial stop here, or am I under custodial custody? Do you know what a custodial custody is, Erica?
It's an arrest, right?
Yeah. So there was a Supreme Court case, a very famous one. Everybody should know it or heard of it. Have you ever heard of the case of Miranda v. Arizona?
Right.
Have you ever heard
of our Miranda rights?
His Miranda rights?
Right.
I don't have Miranda rights. But what happened was the cops beat the living daylights out of this guy Miranda to get the confession, used that confession to get a conviction. They took it all the way to Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, no, throwing that crap out. You guys have to do this stuff. So if you're under a custodial arrest, they must advise you of your rights, and counsel must be present before you're required to answer any questions.
Right. That's the tip that I've heard the most, is that if they start asking you a bunch of questions, you say, can anything be held against me? If so, yeah. I would like to wait until my lawyer gets down here. And cops do not want to wait around for an hour on a traffic stop or whatever.
No, they don't.
Right.
They don't. So, and this is what's fascinating about this. Going back to our scenario, going a little fast there. All right. Well, if you say so. Well, I'm gonna need your license and registration. Okay. Well, who wants to know? Well, this is blah 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 blah. Okay, cop, sir, let me ask you something. Is this a custodial arrest? Oh, no. Oh, okay. Well, then am I free to go? No, you're not free to go. So if I'm not free to go, then it's a custodial arrest. If it's a custodial arrest, I have a right to remain silent. I have a right to have counsel present, and anything that I say can and will be used against me. Which leads me to rule number 2. What would you think rule number 2 is?
I have no idea. This is exciting.
Any and all evidence that will ever be used against you is supplied by you.
Okay.
Okay. What evidence does this cop have that you committed a crime? Going back to our scenario, he just says, going a little fast there, were we? Where's the corpus delicti? You guys know what the corpus delicti means? Body of the crime. What does committing a crime require? Erica, do you know?
An injured party and
an injured party,
a sworn affidavit from said injured party.
Before that. So if I'm going to commit a crime, what must I be willing to do?
Break the law? There has to be a law.
I must be willing to break a known duty, which would be a law. And the second thing is, I must be willing to do it with intent.
Oh, intent.
Or willfully. Yeah. It's called willful intent. Intent is the hardest thing for anybody to prove. So why do you think it is that 90+% of the convictions in this country come from confessions? Because people happily confess their intent. Or it often happens something like this. You're charged with some ridiculous felony. Prosecutor comes and says, well, if you'll plead guilty, we'll drop this down to a misdemeanor. We hear that all the time, right?
Yeah.
If you'll plead guilty, we'll drop this down to a misdemeanor. You'll spend maybe 5 days in jail and have a $2,000 fine. Why do they want you guys to spend time in jail?
Money.
Because they make money when you're in jail. We don't have a problem. People keep thinking we have a jail problem. Our jails are overcrowded. No, our jails are overcrowded because we have a money problem. And because we have greedy, stupid, sick people that make money when other good men and women are in jail. Now, I'm not saying that all criminals in jail are not criminals. I'm saying a good majority of them are not. there are people who absolutely deserve to be locked up and should be locked up. People who do ridiculous things to kids. There's I don't know if you saw this, but there was a case or there's a situation here in Utah, actually in southern Utah. There was these two mommy bloggers. Did you hear about this, Erica? These two
No, I
mommy
don't hear
bloggers?
about anything. Remember.
That's right. Well, this one hits particularly home because one of these mommy bloggers, I went to high school. Matter of fact, we went to a high school dance together. She was in a group that I was in. And she just confessed. All of the evidence shows it, but she just confessed to willful child abuse. She's going to spend some serious time in jail. And there's actually a Hulu documentary or a Netflix or something about it. Anyway, it's pretty crazy. So that is the reality. Rule number 1 is keep your mouth shut. Rule number 2, the reason why we keep our mouth shut is because any and all evidence that will be used against you will be supplied by you. So going back to our scenario, cop comes up to the window. If I'm in the driver's seat, going a little fast there, were we? And I'm just like, well, if you say so. I'm not trying to be smart, officer. I'm just like, if that's your accusation, is that your accusation? Where's your evidence? Well,
yeah, you definitely don't want to start a pissing match with a cop.
I'm not going to on the
they're
side
my
of the road.
brothers, you know, like I work as a nurse. I worked a lot with law enforcement. The last thing you want to do, because
no, that is, and I'm here to tell you guys, look at any of the recent situations in the news. These guys, unfortunately, I'm not saying that they're itching for a fight, but I'll tell you right now, if you give them any reason where they could use or justify using, I mean, even if it's justified or not, it's really hard to fight an unjustified shooting when you're dead. Okay.
And no one likes to feel stupid, you know, exactly. And I think that people who know the law really, really well, like they can make other people feel really stupid. And that doesn't produce a good result when you're trying to like have a meaningful momentary relationship to get through a potentially dangerous situation. So you don't want to add any fuel to any flames, you know?
Exactly. So Todd brings up a really good point. I think what you should do is ask, do you have a warrant? Where do we get that from?
Due process?
Okay. Which is codified where in law?
The Fourth Amendment?
Bingo. So we're going to talk in more detail about how the Fourth Amendment is one of the most abused amendments out there. Good job, Todd. Fourth Amendment. But the problem that people have, like I said before, if you don't know your rights and you don't stand on your rights and you don't timely assert your rights, you have no rights. You waive them. Okay?
Right.
We go, and this starts at the scene of the crime. The scene of the crime is right when that cop pulls you over. You were minding your own business. Were you speeding? Yeah, sure. Maybe you were speeding. Maybe you weren't. Is that relevant? No, it's not. Because number 1, where's the victim? Let me get on the screen. Number 1, where's the victim? Number 2, where's the corpus delicti? Number 3, where's my criminal intent? Okay. A lot of states, it depends on what state you're in. A lot of these traffic violations, they're either a misdemeanor crime or they're what's called an infraction. An infraction is a summary offense. A summary offense can only be attached to what, Erica? A
confession.
No, contract.
Oh, a contract.
Correct. Okay. Again, they're operating under the assumption that you have opted in to utilizing the license. So here's how I would handle this roadside situation. Cop comes up to my window, says, going a little fast, are you? I was like, well, if that's what you say. He's like, okay, I'm going to need your license and registration. Wonderful. Would you please produce the warrant for that? Go ahead, I'll wait. What's the cop going to do if I say, sure, can I see the warrant, please? Because that's, do I or do I not have a right to be secure in my person's papers, houses, and effects? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. And can any warrant issue except upon oath or affirmation, particularly describing the person to be seized or the place or the place to be searched or the person or thing to be seized?
No. Todd's got a good point there. He's gonna go, duh. Same thing in anything. Like when I went to the post office and asked them if they knew about the law of, sending post for 2 and 3 cents. They'd never have heard of any of it. Like they have no idea of anything. They just teach you only a little tiny part of your job. And then, the county house is the worst. Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
You go to file one thing, you got to go to 6 different people and they all give you one tiny little stamp or one tiny little piece of the puzzle and then charge you for it. And
yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So this is exactly how this is going to go. Now, the cop is going to do one of two things. He's going to go, oh, I've heard about you sovereign citizen people creating all sorts of problems for us. And I'm just going to sit there and smile. I was like, okay, well, I'll just go ahead. I'm happy to wait here until you can produce that warrant. Because what's required of him to get a warrant? He's got to go down to a judge and say, I have a reasonable suspicion or probable cause
right.
that this guy's committing a crime.
Right.
Is a traffic infraction a crime?
No.
No. Is he going to get a judge to sign a warrant requiring me to give him my license?
No.
Even if I have a license, does it matter at that point?
No.
I've got a license plate on my car. These guys have software, and I know it because I sold it. They can run my license plate. They can figure out who the car is registered to. Now, he may or may not know that that's who I am. I really don't freaking care. I'm standing on my rights. So, cop comes up to my window, going a little fast. Were we? Well, if you say so. Oh, you're going to be a smart aleck, huh? No, sir. I have 100% respect for people like you who put yourself in harm's way to protect the everyday citizen. Matter of fact, I want to say thank you for doing what you're doing. Okay, appreciate that. Well, can you please give me your license and registration? I'd say, officer, I would love to. Would you please present the warrant? Can I see the warrant, please? Well, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't need a warrant for that. I'm sorry, sir, but I have a Fourth Amendment protected right against unlawful searches and seizures. According to the amendment, the only way you can ask anything of me is if you present me with a lawful warrant. So unless you have a warrant, I am not required to give you that information. Well, you just wait. You have to give me that information. Or, well, do you want to be arrested today? Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't realize I committed a crime. Well, you didn't. I just, blah, 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 blah. Okay, sir. So let me just ask you, is this a custodial stop or am I free to leave? No. It's not a custodial stop. And no, you're not free to leave. Okay, so if I'm not free to leave, pursuant to Miranda v. Arizona, this is a custodial stop. And at this point, I'm going to ask, number one, present the warrant. Number two, I will not be answering any questions without counsel of my choice present. What's the cop going to do? He's either going to double down and dig himself a deeper hole, or
he's going to call his supervisor. That's what he's going to do.
Exactly. He's going to call his supervisor. He's going to get his supervisor down there. Because this is what I'm saying is when you guys listen to the George Gordon series, he talks about, he's like, man, you guys have 6 police cars out here for a little old me in a traffic stop. I've never seen this many people respond to even a legitimate crime.
That's how many brains they have to put together to try to figure out what to do with you.
Yes. I am here to tell you guys, nothing will change until more people start standing up and asserting their rights right at the scene of the crime. You have to be willing. Do not cause a problem. Do not be belligerent. Do not raise your voice. Maintain professionalism. Try to maintain as much calm as you can. I'll be the first to admit, okay, my heart gets racing when the lights turn on. I'm like, oh, great. I'm like I'm shaking, you know. That's a normal fight or flight response. Whenever the human body is presented with any kind of stress or trauma, it's either fight or flight, right? We're going to choose to fight, but we're going to choose to fight intelligently because that's our right. That's our God-given right. That's not a right that's given to us by the state. It's not a right that's given to us by the federal government. It's not a right that's given to us by the Constitution. That's a right given to us by our God.
And when you're able to communicate it that way, in a way that doesn't trigger someone else, it has this immediate effect of them making them back down, because immediately it deflates them. They don't know what to do. So if you're not aggressive, they don't become aggressive.
Exactly.
You don't make them feel stupid. They're not going to come at you and try to make you feel stupid or make you have a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, when you speak authoritatively, the truth resonates at a certain frequency. And I think that no matter what, other humans can really feel that and absorb that and understand that. And they do. They just back down. They're like, you know what? Yeah.
It's just like that situation you talked about, right? When you sent out those letters to that contractor and you spoke truth and common sense, it resonated with that individual. The same will happen to a roadside confrontation.
Right.
If the cop comes up to your window, says going a little fast, or even if they don't say that, even if they say license and registration, please, the first thing out of your mouth should be, no problem. Can I please see the warrant? Just like that.
Yeah.
I'm not being belligerent. I'm just asserting my right. I know that I have a right to be secure in my persons and papers, and that they can't ask for anything unless it's specifically described in a warrant.
This is really great. Diesel Weave for the People. He says, I'm not resisting, but I'm not assisting.
Yeah. I'm not resisting, but I'm not assisting the investigation. Diesel, I don't know where you are, but I imagine that's probably like a Southern accent, because that's where it sounds like it make the most. I'm not resisting, but I'm not assisting your investigation. Love it. You the man.
That's a good one. Yeah.
So Todd brings up a good question. I want to ask is, can you hand over your authority so I can verify it exists in a third world? I'm assuming, Todd, you're referring to the officer, right? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I can't say assume because I know what that means. I imagine that's what you're saying, right? So there's a lot of things that we can do. Step number 1 at the scene of the crime. We're only going to get through the first 2 rules of 19 rules. So we might be doing this over a number of episodes. Rule number 1, do not say a thing. Shut your mouth. Rule number 2, any evidence that will ever be used against you will be provided by you. They have the burden of producing the evidence. They have the burden of producing the proof. Put it on them. Make them prove their case. Don't help them anymore because you don't need to. It's not required of you. So start with your again, and I start at the roadside interaction because that's the majority of interactions that most of the good men and women of this country have. We don't run into police officers like at the grocery store. Well, I should take that back. Recently, under this COVID garbage that people did, but set that aside. Now, getting back into the bit of a normalcy, or even before COVID, the majority of interactions people had with the police were on the side of the road for minor traffic alleged infractions. So again, if the burden of proof is on the state, put it on them. You said that I was speeding. Burden of proof is on you to prove it. And your word is not good enough. That's hearsay. Sorry. Okay. So cop comes to the window. The first thing you're going to do, if they ask you to produce anything, driver's license, I smell alcohol, sir. Have you been drinking tonight? I don't know, sir. If you say so. Step out of the vehicle for me, sir. No problem. Would you please present the warrant? Okay. And here's what's going to happen. Either he's going to present first, he won't have a warrant. He's either going to pull you out of the car forcefully, but the minute he does that, he's just committed the crime. And any evidence that they obtain from there on out is useless. It can be thrown out. Can't use it. So just again, the people who watch and listen to our show are good men and women. They wouldn't be stupid enough to go drinking and driving. I know that. But maybe you had one beer. Maybe you had a little bit of a wine at dinner. I don't know. It's not enough to impair your judgment because you know when that is. You are good people who know, well, my judgment's impaired. I shouldn't be driving. Okay. But if in that event that happens, stand on your rights. Sir, I would be happy to comply with your request. May I please see the warrant? The warrant must specifically state, you've committed this crime. Here's my probable cause, sworn under oath or penalty of affidavit. And here's the evidence I'm asking for. They'll never have it because they don't have it. They'll never get it because they're not going to do it. Right. So one of the three things is going to happen. Either he's going to pull you out of the car, he's going to go back and call his supervisor, who isn't going to come pull you out of the car, or this guy's going to wise up and say, all right, I don't want to deal with you. Have a nice day. Okay.
Todd has an interesting question that when state law, like when it's repugnant to the Constitution, like Marbury versus Madison, right? Like states can't make laws that go against the Constitution for the United States of America.
Correct.
Like, yeah.
So where's Todd's question? Is it this one right here?
He says some states, like, is that Colorado?
Yeah.
Behind the wheel, you have to produce ID no matter if there's probable cause or not.
Yeah, Todd, I'm here to tell you that's complete and utter BS.
Yeah, Harrington knows. He said null and void. That's exactly right. That's what the Marbury versus Madison.
Harrington's got it on the hip. No state can pass any law which would abrogate any of the rights of its citizens, i.e. the private men and women just walking around the street. Okay. Again, can Congress pass a law imposing authority on the people who ultimately gave the authority to Congress? If we didn't give them that authority, can they pass a law using that authority?
No.
I mean, it's, again, going back to our analogy, it's just like going and playing a football game and some team is trying to bring in like some super weapon to allow them to win. It doesn't work that way. It's impossible. It's called an impossibility of law. It doesn't work that way. So, Todd, thanks for the questions. Yes. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the questions. Everybody, thank you so much. We're gonna end the show a little earlier today than we normally do because, again, we got a lot going on. You guys, we have a beautiful holiday this weekend coming up on Monday. Merry Christmas to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. Gosh, I love you guys. That's all I can say. Thank you so much for constantly tuning in, for jumping in our Telegram group and engaging a lot of conversations. I did want to, there was a question here. Let's see, I think it was from Alexandra. She was asking if there was any updates on Heather's accusations. I have not heard from Heather, and I hope she's okay. I have sent some messages to her on Telegram and then also through text message, and she hasn't responded. I don't know what's going on. I really hope she's okay. So Heather, if you're watching or if you're out there, reach out to me, will you please? Because I really want to help you. But I haven't heard anything from her. So I will tell you, we're going to have some more updates as things come along. Like I said, there's 19 rules that we as pro se litigants must follow if we expect to win. I've only got through 2 of them today. So we have 17 more rules to get through. We're going to have a lot of good content. Jump into YouTube, search for George Gordon, start listening to his stuff. It's fantastic. It's fabulous. You're really going to understand how the difference is and how we got to where we are. So, Bill brings this question up. Ammon Bundy. I have heard of Ammon. I haven't talked to him, but I know who he is. And I haven't been following what he's been doing recently, but I have followed him in the past to see what he's doing, and he's doing the same thing. He's part of an organization, I believe, called People's Rights. or something like that. I can't remember exactly. If Justice were here, she would know because she's actually interviewed him on her show. So anyway, with that, you guys, I want to thank all of you for joining us, and we're gonna sign off. Anything you want to say, Erica, before we end the show?
Happy New Year, you guys.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. God bless you all. I will try to get one more episode out before the end of this year. So yes, Happy New Year. We miss you, but I'll try to get one more episode out. But at the very least, Merry Christmas, you all. God bless you all. Thank you so much, and we will catch you on the next episode. Take care, everyone.